live in the Midwest, you'll undoubtedly be familiar with that touchstone of the transition from winter to spring. And now I don't mean daylight savings time. I mean maple sugaring. Every year, school kids pile into buses for field trips to parks or nature centers, and reporters fill slots on morning news programs with stories about tapping trees and collecting sap, all supplemented by dramatic shots of steamy sugar shacks. We may grab a piece of maple candy or hit a pancake breakfast or two, but for most of us, that's the only time we really think about this until next spring. Well, it wasn't always like this. People have been performing the ritual of turning sap into sugar for hundreds of years, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that history. Historic accounts describe native groups in the upper Midwest producing maple sugar from the 18th and 19th century, but undoubtedly they were doing it for much longer than that. Sap was collected in birch bark baskets or wooden troughs to be boiled in pots or kettles over open fires to reduce the sap. But rather than focusing on maple syrup, the desired product was a much thicker consistency, something that, when cooled, could be hardened into cakes or broken up into granulated sugar. At the end of the season, all of the sugaring equipment would be covered by birch bark and left on the site or cached on the site. Now, this system of collecting sap with wood and other natural materials and boiling over open fires doesn't tend to leave a lot in the archaeological record. So most of the information that we know about this comes from oral history or ethnographic accounts. And here's a picture of an art piece from the 19th century showing one of those open-air setups. Now, by the mid-19th century, people began to abandon this open-air setup for a design that was more popular in the eastern U.S. And that involves the construction of U-shaped or rectangular arch, which would hold kettles over a fire down a central channel. And the arches could be made of stone, brick, earth, or a combination of these materials. Now, this design allowed for better control of the fire and a more efficient evaporation of the sap due to the increased surface area of the flat pan. Now, it was also during this time that the focus of the production shifted away from maple sugar towards maple syrup. Now, just by virtue of the stone and earth used in the construction of these arches and the associated metal equipment, they tend to be more visible in the archaeological record, although they aren't well documented. Now, these arches remained in use until the mid-20th century, when they were replaced by more efficient commercial evaporators. Now, the use of kettles or flat pans never completely disappeared among small-scale family or hobby producers. And this continues to this day, where you can easily find equipment and instructional videos online for making your own maple syrup. Even in my own suburban Indiana yard, we're able to produce enough syrup to last the year with only 2 trees. Now, most of us grow up thinking that maple sugaring is something you only see on a field trip or something that only reenactors do. But if you have the chance to try it, it's a simple way to connect to a bit of history. Thanks.
For more information about Orbis, you can find us online at orbisec.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Orbis Environmental. And be sure to click subscribe.